All right, now we're going to do a little bit of Vim. Fun with Vim. So I've put up into your public Vim tips directory a short set of Vim commands that I think that everybody needs to know. These are all useful ones that I use all the time. So, and I adjusted myself. I'm blurry now. Just hide my face. There we go. Okay. So first up, let's talk about Mark. So yes, the person. No, not the person. So cd rbg41 and open up command.cc. Okay, so let's say you've got a program that's like big. This one's not that big. It's only 90 lines of code. But let's pretend it's big. Hi, Mark. Okay, so let's say that, even better, let's go into like bridges mountains reference. Okay. And like this part of code down here, oh, I'm still blurry. Okay, let's see if we can fix that. No idea. Every time I adjust myself, it does this. It's like I can't focus anymore. Like my students. Yeah, I'll just minimize myself. Okay, so here you can see that we've got some code that is kind of like the image processing. Right, so I'm writing RGB values. What I'm doing here is I am figuring out how much red, green, and blue. Hey, I'm back in focus. Should be at every point. So I've got code that is like false coloring some elevation data. So like at higher altitudes, it's white for snow. At the lowest elevations, it's green for grass. And kind of in between, we kind of lerp between the green and the brown and the white, like a three-way lerp kind of thing. And then I output an RGB color. This is very similar to your image processing thing. And so let's say I'm working down here. I'm like working on the lerping. And then, I don't know. And then I've got another area up here where I'm like reading in the data from a file. And then I'm like, I need to go back down and look at that, lerping code again. Well, this file here, it's not that big, but let's pretend it's like 100,000 lines of code or something. It's a really big pain to like have to like sit there and like, all the way around, right? So it'd be really neat if you could set a bookmark, which you can, which is how I've been jumping between these 2 points here. So you can set a mark by using M. M is for mark. So you type M. You don't hold it down, you just type M, and then whatever the key you hit next is going to set the bookmark. So I'm going to type X, like that. Now bookmark X is set to this point. At any point, I could come back here by hitting single quote X. You see the cursor immediately jumps to that point. You can use this for like cut and paste operations. Like if you've got like a big like chunk of code here and you don't want to be like D9D, nope, that's not enough. D14D, nope, that's not enough. Like instead of doing it that way, what you could do is you could set a mark here, MX, and do D single quote X, and it deletes everything up to the mark. That's one way you can do it. That's one useful thing. Single quote Y, or you can just use it to navigate around in a file like that. So and they're saved between quitting and reloading. So if I come back in here and type single quote X, it takes me right back down to that code where I was doing the lerping. And you can override it again. So if I come down here and type MX, now that single quote X is the place that it jumps to. So you can have bookmarks all throughout your code and leap between them. So if you're working on 2 different parts of your code, you can just hop back and forth between them. I do this all the time. So next up would be Shift G. Okay, yeah. So Shift G takes you to the bottom of a file. 1 Shift G takes you to the top of a file. 40G takes you to line 40. 20 Shift G takes you to line 20. This is really useful if there is a bug in your code. So let's say that I forgot a semicolon or something, right? And I try compiling public vim tips.cc. I'm going to get an error on line 36, right? So in the file /public/vim tips.cc, :36, that means on line 36 of this file, I forgot a semicolon. Okay. So I can come back in here and type 36 Shift G, and you will see that line 36 is actually the line below it. This is very common for a semicolon error because C++ doesn't know that you need a semicolon until you need it. And so missing semicolons oftentimes will give you an error on the line below. So 36 Shift G takes me to the line the error is on, or oftentimes it's one below the line as well. Another way you can do this in Vim is by, when you launch Vim, you can put in the line number that you want to jump to. You do that, and it takes you right to the line, or again, wherever it said the error was, right? Which in this case was the line below where the problem was. Okay, so lots of ways of jumping through the files. Lowercase gg is another way of jumping up to the top, Shift G to the bottom, 5 Shift G, line 5, etc., etc. Okay, so this is probably the most useful thing I'm going to show you here. It's front slash. So if I've got a bunch of code, let's open up main.cc. So open up main.cc, and I type front slash vector. This is going to show me everywhere inside of the file that the word vector appears. So I got one here, I got one here. All right. If I hit N and is for next, it'll jump to the next instance of vector. Okay, that's pretty useful. I use this to navigate through my code all the time because I don't remember what line number I'm on, but I know that I had words like I said call the range, and then I could just hit return and it jumps me there. And so rather than using bookmarks, a lot of times I will actually just front slash and search for whatever code I was working on, and it'll jump me there because I forgot to bookmark it before I left. And if I hit N, there's no other instances of call to range. Okay. Now let's say that we want to use this to change the name of this variable here. So we got vec here, and we want to rename it to like Bob or something like that, right? Now I could just do a global search and replace. There is a way of doing that in Vim, and I never do it. The reason why is because I don't want to have a Bob Tor or a Bob Tor here. I do not want every place where vec appears, the 3 letters for vec, to be switched with Bob, right? That would be bad. Like you'd have a comment saying this is a Bob Tor now. I don't want that. So so what I do is this. I will do front slash vec, which I've already done. I can hit N to search through all the instances. Shift N, by the way, searches backwards. That. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a CW. So CW stands for, actually let's just change it in main. This will be more interesting. So front slash vec. Okay, cool. Now this is not one that I need to change, right? Because that's actually vector. That's fine. Hit next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say CW, like the television show, television station. I'm going to change it to Bob. Okay. Now I'm going to hit N for next. Now watch this. Vim automatically saves the last command that you did into an automatic macro. And that automatic macro is called dot, or at least that's the keystroke that you use to execute the last command that you did. Not a motion command. Arrow keys don't do anything. But the last change you made to the file can be repeated. So because I did a change word, CW, which erases a word and puts you in insert mode, after you hit escape, that gets saved into the automatic macro. And so if I hit dot here, you can see vec changes to Bob, and I can hit N, and then dot, and then N, and then dot, and then N, then dot, then N, then dot, then N, then dot, then dot, and 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 then dot. And then I come up top here. Do I want to change this? Do I want to make this Bob Tor? No, I do not. Not at all. Do I want to change this one? Nope, this is a different function. I don't want to change that one either. So, like I said, there is a global search and replace, which you hit colon, all this kind of stuff. I never do it. I never do it. This is the way that I change enemy variables, so that I can take a look at it every place where it comes up, and I can look at it and make sure that this is in the function that I'm trying to change it in, and I'm not screwing something up like this, right? Which should not be changed. Wait, that's such a time saver. It is. It really is. So yeah, dot will just repeat whatever the last command you did. If I do YY and I hit P, dot just repeats whatever the last command was, right? If you want to do something multiple times, like if I want to, I don't know, like if I want to print out this separator, I guess you'd call it here, I could do YY6P, and then that just pasted whatever it is I did 6 times. Every command you do in Vim, you can put a number in front of it, and then it will repeat the command that many times. All of this is in command mode, normal mode. And so like the K command moves you up, the J command moves you down. And so if I were to hit 2K, it moves me up 2 lines. If I hit 2J, it moves me down 2 lines. If I hit 10K, it moves me up 10 lines. If I hit 10J, it moves me down 10 lines. There's a lot of motion commands in Vim. A lot of times I just use search though. Like I'll just search for like vectors like that to jump around, or marks, or I don't know. There's a lot of different ways of doing it. Page up, page down works too. But in Vim, if you want to repeat a command, 5dd deletes 5 lines. You can repeat any command by prefixing a number to it. So 5 words to the right. If you want to delete 3 words, D3W deletes 3 words. If you want to delete 3 lines, D3D. Very useful stuff. Very useful stuff indeed. And 3DD and D3D are both the same. Another thing that's very useful is Shift V. Shift V puts you into visual mode, and you can use this to highlight and select code and hit Y, and then Shift P and paste it. Okay, so sometimes you don't want to sit there and count like how many lines am I deleting here? 4D. Okay, I got it right. Instead of doing that, you can hit Shift V. V is for visual mode. You can just select the stuff and then tap delete, and it'll erase it. I've gotten lazy in my old age. I used to like count the number of lines. I'm like, okay, inside of main there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. Okay, D60. Like I would do that. Nowadays I'll just Shift V, arrow down, and delete them. Like, assuming it's small. D60 is still pretty fast. Shift 5 is really useful. That moves the cursor to the matching bracket. So Shift 5 finds the matching bracket, which is really useful if you have, for example, if you've got all this stuff. Let's say that somebody screwed up and left off an angle bracket, or a curly brace or something. Then you could GG equals capital G, right? You could reformat your code, and a lot of times reformatting your code, GG equals capital G reformats your entire file. A lot of times that'll reveal the problems. Like you can see from the formatting here that something's screwed up, right? But a lot of times like you're just kind of like moving around. And there's like all these open brackets. This one doesn't have an open bracket at all. So you're like, I don't know, maybe I'll throw an open bracket in there, right? And then you hit Shift 5. Oh, it doesn't match anything. Oh no, that's not good. Let's take that out. How about you? Who do you match? Shift 5? No, that doesn't look right. Because there's a for loop above me, and yeah, that doesn't look right. And so you can sit there and use this to like match curly braces. Works with parentheses, works with angle brackets, and then that can help you like see, because especially when it's like off the bottom of the screen, you can jump back and forth across the entire block, and not only is that useful for navigating, you can do things like say D Shift 5. And then that erases everything between the 2 curly braces. That's very nice too. Okay, I'm going to quit and not save out of this. So if you do a D Shift 5, it deletes everything between the curly braces. So that's a very useful little trick to know as well. Any motion command can be combined with deletion or copying or anything like that. So W is a command that moves 1 word to the right. B is a command that moves 1 word to the left. So if you do 2D2W, that deletes the next 2 words. If you do a Y2B, that copies the previous 2 words. Okay. So yeah, search is /, next match, previous match, change word with dot. That's how I do search and replace. GG equals capital G is reformat the entire file. Oh yeah, indentation, double right arrow increases the indent by 1 tab stop. Double left arrow decreases the indent by 1 tab stop. If you want to do a block indent, right arrow, 8 right arrow, 8 lines get indented in. Left arrow, 8 left arrow, 8 lines get unindented. They get moved left. Shift V allows you to select lines, and you can just delete them or whatever. Shift A is very useful. That takes you to the end of the line for insert mode. So I've seen a lot of students do this. Watch, this hurts. If you want to put something in the beginning of the line, hurts. It hurts. Oh, now I need to put something at the end of the line. A. Yeah, don't do that. Shift I inserts at the beginning of the line. Shift A appends to the end of the line. Okay. If you have to move your hand to the mouse, you're too slow. Mouse is not fast enough. Okay. So yeah, you can click because you guys have mouse mode. I don't, by the way. If you notice when I'm clicking here, the cursor doesn't move. I use the mouse to select and copy things. I don't use it to navigate around. X deletes a character. U undos. No, I'm not too slow. Yeah, if you take a job that pays by the hour, then you definitely want to do that. S, I never understood S. And the reason why Mink Riley put it in here was because I was talking to the 12 o'clock class and I was telling him, I was like, the way that I learned Vim, you don't have to memorize all these things. These are really useful things, though. Was I put a cheat sheet, a Vim cheat sheet behind my monitor. And then every day I would just kind of like look over and be like, I'll pick this one. You know, and I would just learn how to use, you know, CW or Shift G or something like that. You know, and I would just use it over and over in the day when I was doing coding. And eventually you just kind of start mastering Vim. Well, nobody really masters it, but you get good at it, right? And S never made sense to me because here's what S does. You type S, now you're in insert mode. So it's literally just a delete followed by an I. So it's like X and an I together, which I was like, look, I just type X and I and get the same thing. Didn't make any sense to me. And then I was hanging out with another professor, and every Vim person has their own like workflow. Every Vim person has their own favorite commands. That's how they do things. And what I saw him do was something like this, where he went like 4S. Ah ha ha ha, or I don't know, something like that. And then he went dot. I'm like, oh, I understand what you're doing now. So S, because it's just one command, it deletes one character and then puts you into insert mode. But if you do 7S, then it deletes 7 characters and puts you into insert mode. So it's like CW. It erases a chunk of characters, and then you can type in a word there. And then every time I hit dot, it erases 7 letters and replaces it with ah ha 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 ha. Right? Like that. See that? I was like, oh, that's actually useful. So he would, you know, for something like this, you just use 7S and then type something. And that's kind of like CW. Right? You can control how many characters are being substituted. U is undo. That's kind of useful. R is redo. K and J are move up and down. I don't use them that often. I use arrow keys like a normal person. You can still use a HJKL to navigate around. Especially sometimes arrow keys get kind of weird on different terminals. The number pad doesn't work like for you guys probably. It works for me because I have it set up, but yeah. But when you get good at Vim, like you can do things like Control V, and you can do like that and like I don't know. you can actually select rectangular regions and do like a you can do like a multi-insert where you're like writing on every line at the same time. So that's useful if you want to like comment out multiple lines at the same time. I don't know how to redo. So if I undid something, I'd have to retype it all. Yeah, Control R. Control R for redo. U for undo, Control R for redo. I don't know why it's not symmetrical. You'd think that Shift U would be like redo, which I think it. Oh, okay. Undo all latest changes on one line. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, so it's a sort of a mass undo. Okay. Yeah, so Control R is redo. I used to just use U for undo and redo because I only would care about a single undo, and so I'd hit U and then U again, and the first U would undo it, and the second U would redo it. This was actually part of my workflow because what I would do is I would have something like this, right? And then to get back up there, I would hit undo. Yeah. And so I actually used undo as a automatic mark system, basically. So like if I like wanted, like I was like working over here or something like this, and then I'm scrolling down and I'm like looking at some other code, and then I want to go back to where I was working. I just hit undo, which doesn't work now because I have multiple redo histories. Let me simulate this with a Control R. Undo. So I just hit UU twice, and it would undo and redo, and then I'd be back where I was before. So that was a part of my workflow for years. I eventually warmed up to the idea of multi-level undo, but I screwed this up. Huh? Shift A, go to into line and insert. Shift I, go to beginning line and insert. Right. And then watch this. Dot. See that? Dot's very useful. If you ever find yourself repeating yourself, dot will just do the last thing you did. And I save a lot of time when coding by using the dot operator. How do you exit Vim without saving? Would be :W, sorry, not W, :Q exclamation mark. Okay. So save without, so 24, save and quit is :WQ. 25 is quit and no save. Maybe I should have put this differently, huh? Quit and save. Quit and no save is :Q exclamation mark. If you want to change the case, tilde, do that for you. So if you do like a 10 tilde, it will uppercase-ify for you. Dot, lowercases it. A lot of good stuff in there. Yeah, you can do that. There's a lot of neat stuff. I mean, Vim is incredibly intelligent. Control A will increment a number. That's more useful in like macros and things like that, where you can have like line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, and you can actually have it increment the numbers as you paste. So you copy and paste a line that has like a 1, and then when you paste it, it increments it to a 2, then increments it to a 3. So yeah, Durant. Yeah, I screwed something up here. Okay. GG equals capital G is reformat file. I think I think I saved my Control V. Yeah, well, let's do this. Shift L. Shift V and mode line select. Yep. X deletes the character. If I go RR, it replaces the character. One really useful one, actually, is Shift R. Puts you into overwrite mode. So like, let's say I want to change overwrite mode to command mode, Shift R, command. And then you overwrite on top of existing text. That's really useful. I use that a lot. Using Vim to desecrate the Vim tips. Yeah. I probably should not have used the Control V and be like, look, you can just delete things like this and then not hit undo. Right? Okay, I think it's good enough. So many good things. Honestly, the only people that don't like Vim are the people that haven't taken the time to learn it. Is there a learning curve? Sure. But in order to get going, it only requires the 5 commands that I showed you guys at the beginning. How to go into insert mode, how to get out of insert mode, how to save and quit. I mean, honestly, just that's all you need. You know, and then you can just use it as a text editor. But like, honestly, watching professional programmers that are scared of Vim, just watching them like copy and paste the same line over and over again using the mouse. You know, it's just like, oh my gosh. You know, they'll go like this. Like, they'll click and slowly drag, you know, and then they'll like paste, and then they'll, you know, we're going to come over here, hit space a bunch of times. They work like this. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Kills me. So slow. Okay. So that is it for the Vim tips for today.